Welcome, 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 welcome to Art with Viv. I'm Viv, and let's just go. Today, I am doing something a little different. My crafty side is coming out, and I've seen other creators make these, and I was like, well, I'm going to give it a try. So I did, because I wanted to show you guys as well. This is nothing new under the sun, but I just thought I would show you and give you a little bit of perspective from somebody that's never done this before. So these are the ornaments we're going to be making, and here are the things that you're going to need. You're going to need some air dry paper clay, and there's another one that I've done just showing you. But what you're going to need, back to reality, people, come on, is some air dry paper clay. And I use this brand, but you can use whatever brand that you have. A rolling pin, I'm using the one for my kitchen, a cup of water, that's going to be to smooth the ornaments. I've got a wooden skewer, that's just to poke holes for the ribbons, an X-Acto knife, that's in case you don't have cookie cutters, some ribbon, some paint or some Posca paint pens. I have all different colors of Christmassy paint and some metallics as well. And I'm just going to put these over here. And then you'll need, of course, some cookie cutters. I use these three. These are my favorite cookie cutters. Or you can get some templates, which if you are part of my $5 tier in my Patreon, you will get these to print out and cut out yourself. And that's what you'll need the X-Acto knife for. If you don't have cookie cutters, you can cut around those templates into your clay. You'll also need a smooth surface. I've just got a cutting board here, but you'll need a smooth surface to roll your ornaments out on, roll your clay on. And I like to leave my clay right on the surface so I don't disturb it, so that they don't get misshapen or whatever. So that's why I like to have a separate surface. I don't like to roll it out directly onto my table. Now, if you're enjoying this, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like, leave me a comment, let me know what you're doing. So I'm going to roll this out to about 1/4 inch thick, and I'm turning it as I roll it. I don't know why. I think that's the baker in me. I'm making pie crust here, and I like to turn my pie crust when I'm rolling it, so that's what I'm doing. You don't have to do this. So once I got it rolled out, I feel like there's not enough clay, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more clay and roll this out just a little bit bigger. There we go, got my extra clay there. So I'm just going to roll this back up into itself, squish it all together. And you might want to keep some wipes handy, some hand wipes, because your hands will get covered with this paper clay. So now I'm going to re-roll it out because I didn't feel like that was enough clay for all the ornaments that I want to do. I want to put as many on this cutting board as I can, because I'm going to leave them on here to dry so they don't get misshapen, so they don't get all warped and cattywonka. We don't want cattywonka ones. So I'm just rolling it, and I would suggest about 1/4 inch thick. That's about how thick I would roll it. A little bit thinner, it might break. If you make it any thicker, it's going to take forever to dry, which these took me about 3 to 4 days to dry, but it has been raining here, so it may have been just the humidity in the air, I don't know. So now I'm just going to use some of my cookie cutters, and I am going to cut out my ornaments. I love this deer cookie cutter. I don't even remember where I got it, but I love it, love it, love it. I might have got it a little too close to the edge for his hoof there, but I don't care. I'm just going to go with it. And of course, everybody loves hearts. You can paint those cute little Scandinavian designs on your hearts, or whatever you want to. It's up to you. And I'm making sure that I'm pressing pretty hard, and I'm going, all the way through the clay. Now I'm going to show you how I use my template. I did a swan there, but it took me so long. I was like, they don't want to watch me do this swan. It took so long. So I'm going to show you a simple penguin template that I cut out. I cut this one out of tracing paper. And then I'm just going around it with my X-Acto knife, holding that template down, trying to be gentle because you don't want to put dents in your clay and little divots that you'll have to sand out once it's dry. So use a very light touch. And then I just used my really sharp X-Acto knife to cut around that penguin. And the edges are going to be a little bit messy from the X-Acto knife. That's why we have the water. And you'll also need, I forgot to say it, but you'll just need an old paintbrush that's really soft to help smooth the sides. I forgot to say that at the beginning, but I'm saying it now. So there you go. I just cut around it with my X-Acto knife, or whatever blade you have. It doesn't have to be X-Acto knife, whatever sharp blade you have. So now I'm just trying to place them on there so I can use as much of my clay as possible and don't waste any. And then I have another template that I've cut out. Again, if you're part of my $5 tier, the Dabblers tier on my Patreon, you will get a whole supply packet with this stuff in it. So again, I'm just taking my X-Acto knife. I'm going to cut around it. Now be really careful when you're cutting around the antlers to this template if you use it, because it's such a small area, they can break easily. So yeah, this one is a little tricky. And actually, once this one dried and I sanded it, I broke one of the antlers, but I just hot glued it back on. I'm just telling you in advance that, yeah, those antlers are tricky. Be careful not to break them. Don't make them too thin. And just really do the best that you can with them. Or you can skip the antlers and just put like 2 little antlers up there instead of the big rack like that. You can, modify it to be smaller antlers that are maybe thicker, like reindeer antlers, how they're thicker than these antlers, these type of antlers. Especially if they've just got like 2 prongs on them, like a baby deer, a young buck. What? But of course I wanted to be fancy, so I had to do it the hard way. I can't do anything the easy way. It's just not in my nature. I got to do everything the hard way. Now once you get all of your templates cut out, then just go ahead and start removing the excess clay from around them. Don't forget to seal your clay up really good. Either use the original package or you could put it in like a Ziploc bag, but make sure that you seal it up tightly so that it doesn't dry out. So all I'm going to do is just start removing all of this excess clay from around each one of the ornaments that we've got here. And then I'm going to seal that up real nice and tight, keep it moist so that I can use that later. That's just a good tip for you. Now I have gotten almost all of it, and as you see, I did not use my clay to the best. I could have probably put some of those closer together and had more ornaments, but it is what it is. This is what we've got. And next up, you'll want to kind of smooth those edges. So that's what we're going to do next. You'll just need a little bit of clean water. You can use your fingers, or you can use a soft brush. Just make sure that it's an old brush, not one you're going to use for painting. You'll want to dip that brush in the water, and then you'll just smooth the edges. Just smooth around the edges, especially on the ones that you had to cut out with the knife, because they'll be a little more, they won't be as smooth as the cookie cutters. And I also used my knife to just sort of clean up any raggedy edges that were kind of sneaking off the edge there. I just kind of cleaned them up with that, and then I just used my brush, wet it down, and then I would just smooth those edges with that brush, because you want nice smooth edges, as smooth as you can get them. You can use the brush, you can use your finger, and I'm just using an old watercolor brush that I don't paint with anymore, but it's still a decent brush to do things like this with. So that's all you're going to do. You're just going to smooth all those edges. If you don't have a brush, you can use your finger. Just wet the tip of your finger and go along those edges and kind of pat and smooth that out so that it'll be nice and consistent. They won't be jaggedy and have little crumbs of clay sticking off of them. And it makes it look so much better. I really like that penguin. I got that penguin template from a Martha Stewart book that I had from like the 1990s. Yes, I save all my magazines. I've got like 1,000 Martha Stewart magazines all piled up. Not a fire hazard at all. Actually, I just got the Christmas one, so it's probably not 1,000. It's probably however many years she was in business, but I loved her Christmas ones until she went to jail. And after she went to jail, they just weren't as good. They didn't have as much information. They didn't have the workbooks in them. So yeah, but I got all of her good ones from years past. Now I'm just taking a wooden skewer and I am poking a hole while the clay is still wet. You'll want to poke a nice hole wherever you think you're going to put your ribbon for the hanger. And actually I did really good on that deer. I put it in the perfect place so that it hangs pretty evenly on the tree. It's not lopsided. And once you get all your holes in there, then you're going to make sure all your edges are smooth. Get all your holes where you think that it would help the ornament to hang evenly and not lopsided. Do the best that you can with that. And then once you get all of that done, you're just going to let the ornaments dry completely. For me, it took 3 or 4 days. It just depends on how humid your house is. And while it's drying, now would be a good time to invite you to join my Patreon at the Dabblers $5 a month level. You'll get the supply sheet for this project. You'll get step-by-step instructions, and then you'll get templates that you can cut out in case you don't have cookie cutters at home. And you can trace around those and cut those out like I just showed you. And I give you a little inspiration for some Scandinavian designs you can paint on them, all for $5 a month. Plus, you'll get access to I don't know how many, over 100 mini tutorials, and along with the sheets that go with those, the supply sheets and the traceable drawings and all that stuff, and lots more stuff. You should just check it out. I will link it below. Now, once your ornaments are dry, I'm taking really fine sandpaper. And I think this is like a 300 grit, but you could go finer if you want to. This one's working pretty good for me. And you can just sand off any rough edges that you didn't get and smooth those out. And any dips, I have some dips where I touched the ornament, so my finger left an impression in them. So I'm going to sort of even those out some. And you'll want to just smooth everything out. And once you get all of those smoothed out, here, I am just taking my time. Oh, also be careful, like if you have the little legs and the ears, be careful with your pressure. You don't want to break his legs off. You don't want to break his ears off. You don't want to break the bird's beak off. So anywhere you have like smaller elements on your ornament, be really careful. Don't press too hard. They don't break easily, but like I said earlier, I did break the antlers to my deer, but I'm just hot glued them back together and went on about my business. It was no big deal. It's just going on my tree, so. But if you're going to use these as gifts, then, you know, you might want to do thicker thicker antlers or just skip the ones with antlers altogether. Now I've got them sanded, I've got them dry, I've wiped all the excess dust off of those. Oh, one important thing I forgot to tell you, when you're sanding them, wear a face mask. You don't want to inhale that clay dust. All right, so we've got them all sanded, smooth, however we want them. And then I took some white paint. Use gesso if you have it, but my gesso is dried out. So I just took some white paint and I painted over each one of those just to seal it front and back. And just to be clear, that is acrylic paint that I'm using to seal it. Like I said, use white gesso. My gesso is all dried up. I had to throw it away, and I didn't feel like driving to go get more, ordering more. So I'm just using white acrylic paint. Gesso is better, really, but this will work in a pinch, so that's what I did. And then you're going to let these dry. And again, just to remind you, paint both sides, front and back, unless you just want one-sided ornaments, but I want two-sided ornaments. Then once they're dry, on this one, I just took Posca pens, my Posca acrylic paint markers, and I just did the designs on there. I made them up as I go along, but of course, if you are part of my Patreon, you will get some 2 sheets of different kinds of Scandinavian or folk art designs that you can use those as inspiration on how you want to paint your own ornaments, or shoot, go wild, do like a abstract art on them, do whatever you want. I just chose to do some Scandinavian type of folk art designs for these because they're simple, they're cute. Everybody likes a little Scandi design here and there. But as you see, the Posca pens work really well. You'll have a lot more control than a paintbrush, but of course, feel free to use a small paintbrush and some acrylic craft paint to do this. It's up to you, whatever you have on hand. I just felt like these acrylic markers were, just so much easier. Everybody knows how to use a pencil. They have more control. We've been using pencils and pens since we could first learn to write, so they're the best things for control. But on some of them, I did use my brush and put some brush work on them. But for this one that I'm showing you, I'm just showing you how I did it with my Posca pen. And I just did a little outline of dots. And then I was trying to decide what else I wanted to do. I just sort of made this design up. I should have, before I did it, looked up the Scandinavian designs and actually drawn the inspiration from it first. But I didn't. I just went with my own little imagination. But, like I said, I'll provide those Scandinavian designs, those folk art designs for you to draw inspiration from in case you don't want to stretch your imagination or, just have something as a guide. Everybody needs a guide to start with. And then you can just go whole hog. Except for me, I just started. I just started doing the design. I didn't even care. I was like, well, I'm going to put a flower here. I'm going to cover it with dots. Let me put a little necklace on him. And then, and then let's see, I need some leaves here. That's how my little jittery brain worked. I was just going all over the place, deciding on how I was going to design as I went. And it came out okay. I like it. It's my design. It's going to hang on my tree. And it's 100% personalized. Now, another thing you can do besides make these into ornaments, here is a great thing. I was invited to a Christmas dinner party by one of my husband's bosses back in the past. And what she did is she handmade ornaments for every one of her guests. She made these cute little ornaments, and then she put she used those little beads that have letters on them, the alphabet beads, and the little tiny ones, and she spelled out their names of each person and attached their names with ribbon to the ornaments. And that was their take-home gift from the dinner party. I thought that was so cool. So that's also another option you can think about. Use these as place tags for your next dinner guest, for your Christmas dinner guest, or Thanksgiving. Make some leaves instead of making Christmas ornaments. cut out some maple leaf shapes and then write the person's name, or do like the little string as with the alphabet beads on there, spelling out their name. Use it as the place setting card, and then they can take it home, hang it on their tree as a memory for your beautiful dinner party that you had, and put the date on the back of it. And I just think that is a really thoughtful way to use these as little place cards, and then your guests can take them home as an ornament for their own tree and as a little memento of the wonderful gathering that you had. So that's another idea that you can use these for, not just ornaments. You can make these for your dinner guests. You can use them as gift tags. Like, say you want to give your neighbors a tin of cookies or some cookies, and then you can just put hang one of these on the tin of the cookies and put the date on it, and put, maybe to and from, and they can use it as an ornament to remember that wonderful gift that you gave them. So there's lots of different ways you can use these. Just use your imagination. They don't have to just be ornaments. For yourself, you can use them as gifts. You can use them as gift tags. You can use them as place card holders at your dinner party, at your Christmas dinner party, and then let the guests take them home as their takeaway gift. So, yeah, those just some ideas for you. I'm always thinking up different things. How can I give people good value? How can I give people a little extra surprise when they come to my house? Something special that they can keep. So now I decided to just go with little sprigs of leaves around my flower and some just little designs. Like I said, I just didn't have any rhyme or reason. I'm just going with my instincts, my artistic instincts, and filling up the space. That's all I'm doing. I didn't really have anything to, go by. I'm just going by my imagination on this one. And it might not be as aesthetically pleasing as everybody else's little folk art designs, but I like it because it's mine. Then I took a nice thick red ribbon, just tied it so that you can hang it on your tree. Oh, but before you do that, get some kind of varnish. I used the glossy Mod Podge. Can you see that it's shiny? The other one I haven't Mod Podged it, so you can see that it puts a little sheen on it. If you don't like the shiny, just use the matte Mod Podge or whatever varnish. You can also use like some resin varnish, UV varnish, whatever you have, but I just use a Mod Podge because that's what I have. But you can use whatever you want. So I hope you enjoyed this. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this. Consider joining my Patreon, and I will see you soon. I hope y'all have a great holiday season, and a shout out to all my patrons. Without you, I couldn't do this. Thanks for watching, guys.